Hey guys, so support. Support is my main, and as I do want to do a more in-depth video later, let's try to get as much basics and as much information as I can out before I go ahead and stream today. We'll do the general and raid types either tonight or tomorrow morning. Probably try to get to them tonight. So, what do we have for stuff? Again, in the first video-ish, first few, I talked about trying to get 200 cost suits. For supports, we have actually a few choices here. We have the Zaku Cannon, the GM Cannon, the Gigan or Gigan, however you say that. For 200 cost. And we do have the Zaku 1 Commander. They recently just buffed this suit in the sense that they buffed the weapon it uses. So with supports, you have a few different weapons. You typically have something that can stun, and then sometimes you have like a machine gun or something like that. But typically you always have some form of cannon or sniper. A lot of times you don't really have like a machine gun, or sorry, a bazooka. Oops. In this case, but that is an option you can use here. The Zaku 1 Commander is actually pretty tanky and can skirmish pretty well. So you can kind of play around with any weapon. I would recommend either the Magella Tank Top because it's just got buffed recently, and the Zaku Machine Gun. Other than that, especially if you're in space, probably the Machine Gun. Other than that, you got a melee weapon, which is actually nice on some supports. You really just have your fist or your boot. You can give them the boot. Got a Sturmfaust in this case, and a spiked shield. So for parts, I like to go for as much damage as possible. If you have a shield, you can throw something like that on. And then, in this case, I've got the high speed cruise control to get mobility. You are the slowest thing on the battlefield as a support. So, yeah, that always helps. These days, though, I haven't ran this too much. Now that I have parts, I probably would do something around this for if I'm going full on just damage. But the first setup is also pretty nice for just getting pretty consistent gameplay going. And throw that health on there. I just noticed I had an open slot on this setup. So, Zaku Cannon. This is my old faithful. This is the one I always go to for support, especially at these low cost. You can get the MMP80 pretty quickly. It is huge DPS, definitely better than the Zaku Machine Gun. Though the Zaku Machine Gun does have one benefit there. It says on it easily flinches, which is pretty nice. So that's pretty much its weapons. Your combo typically is going to be cannon and then you pew pew till you switch back to the cannon and then pew pew. Once you get some reload speed, you can go ahead and cannon, shoot till you're empty, cannon, and then by the time you switch back, you'll be able to reload. Typically this is, I think, around level 4 when you can upgrade and enhance and get some extra part slots to have a good enough quick loader. Just to make sure I'm not crazy, let's go ahead and look at the 4, and what do I have? Okay, so yeah, I have the level 3. So that's when your reloading speed feels really good. So, 200 cost, you actually have a decent variety. Now, the only problem with the GM Cannon, which is going to probably be the quickest and easiest for you to get into starting out, is it's pretty much the Zaku Cannon, but worse. So the Zaku Cannon also has one benefit that it doesn't have, and that is you have this smoke discharge. The discharge in this case will give you more defense, essentially giving you more effective HP than the GM Cannon. This also removes the little health bar that the data uplink, which is what supports have as a skill data link, so that you see the health bars above the enemies. This also feeds it to your teammates, as it says, and that's one reason why support is needed in a team. So from there, just to look at the GM cannon, you do have a shield. So that's one of the benefits of playing it. You get a shield. Shields can block yourself from getting stunned or staggered. Then you have the Vulcans, which is okay, but the 100mm actually is a bit farther shooting wise. Like as far as distance goes, you can cover a little more distance and stagger again easier than the MMP-80. As far as like health and stuff goes, technically if you add all that together, it's about the same as the Zaku cannon once you start popping your smoke. But unless you can really make use of the shield, then Zaku cannon has more damage and more base health overall. Other than that, looking at this is actually one of my favorites. It has a ton of damage output, and yeah, that's pretty much mainly what it is. You don't have any shield or anything. You got a claw arm for a punch, but you can combo between Gatling, Vulcans, and the cannon to do some decent damage. And yes, the Vulcans on this thing actually do some pretty good damage. You have a lot of range mods for long range, and you can go ahead and get some nice damage out of it. A lot of supports with their Vulcans can actually do some damage. Now comparatively, the GM cannon isn't as effective, or rather in between. Well, I mean, first the damage is just lower, but yeah, you're gonna be normally at a long range when you're firing these anyway, and even these aren't that long range. So I think they're the exact same on this and the GM cannon. But if you're ever caught in a close-up situation, someone's on low health, this can definitely finish it off. Some Vulcans on a lot of suits won't feel as good. Okay, so I won't do this with every suit. Again, I kind of want to do a suit-by-suit thing, but I wanted to go over the 200s just because. This also translates into 250. I do not have the Zaku 1 Commander, but another good one that also has a shield and has actually missile pods there on its legs is the Heavy Arms. Pretty much same deal as the cannon version of the Zaku 1 Commander, but you can also use an MMP-80. Other than that, you've got a Heat Hawk, and you've got some missile pods and a grenade. So it's pretty nice. Overall, really solid suit. You managed to get one of these out of the box. Pretty good. We also have this GM Sniper that I don't have at level 1, but I figured I'll go ahead and talk about it here because I just saw it. But you can pick that up. If you like the Sniper playstyle, fair enough. It's beams, you can destroy legs pretty well with it, and you're gonna be poking from the back. I kind of like a more mid-range cannon. So when I say mid-range, I don't mean like too close, but I get a little too close sometimes. But cannons don't have as much range. To kind of show you here, we have 850 range on that, and then your long range weapon is only 550 on the cannon. So that's what I mean by long and mid as far as support goes. Other than that, you do get the ability to start playing the gun tank. This is the mass production one, and it is pretty solid. Again, you have some good range with 800 on these. The Gigun is pretty much the same deal. 300 cost. This is where you start getting some extra things and you can get some pretty solid suits. If you like the sniping playstyle, you might like the Desert GM. It's pretty solid, but you gotta aim. You got a railgun, and you know, it's pretty good. Another thing we get is the GM Sniper Custom. So this is a very versatile suit. You got a sniper, which is really good. You know, it's standard sniper procedure, but you do have the ability to rock a bazooka if you really want to, or the two-barreled beam gun. I actually tried this a little while back, and yeah, it's pretty solid. You get some decent damage out. You're pretty close range at that point, but you're playing close range support, and this thing can skirmish and destroy parts, especially with this little pistol. So you can combo the pistol and the beam gun, the little beam pistol, but no, it is beam gun, dual barrel beam gun. And you can get some decent damage, destroy some parts, destroy some legs, and you got this really cool arm beam saber, which is kind of, I like it. It's pretty cool. So solid, versatile suit. Definitely more something that not my biggest favorite, but if you like it and you like that playstyle, practice it. This suit can be really good. The weapons rack, really solid. This suit is nothing but solid. So you have a 180mm cannon. So then you have a flare. You can combo these back and forth. This is its main weapon, and this is pretty much the only thing it has. The Vulcans on this are pretty meh, especially when you start getting up to this cost. The damage isn't that great. You do have a beam saber, but the flash grenade you can stagger, and then you can go follow up with a beam saber or follow up with another cannon shot into a beam saber. There's a lot you can combo with here, and this suit's really solid. All around, it is a good suit. The gun cannon mass production, which is what we got for free. So this is a really good suit to start out with. It's not as punishing as far as, say, gun cannons go, which we'll be talking in the next cost. You get, the ability eventually to get the dual 100mm, although the bullpup is not that bad. It's actually a really good gun as far as playing on some verticality type maps. You can jump off and still shoot, whereas with the 100mm you can't. 100mm are definitely a bit longer range, and you know, more DACA, so you get all the pew pews. Other than that, we got the cannons. Now these fire separately as two different projectiles, where it says ×2 there. Anything that says ×2, that's how it kind of calculates. So you can hit one dude with one and one dude with the other and say deal 1,000 damage to each. Or if you hit the guy and they're in close enough proximity to the explosions, you can actually deal like 2,000 to one dude. So that's why your damage is going to vary if you're looking at this suit. So yeah, I wanted to go over that one specifically because it's, you know, that's what we got. Another thing you get as a support in space is this. It pretty much means you can angle up and down pretty much almost straight down in space. So pretty legit. Frontline support systems, you get to respawn faster. There's a comp where it's nothing but supports. I like that comp, and this is one of the reasons why. You get to get back out a lot quicker if somebody goes down. So, like I said, at this point, you start opening up quite a few possibilities. Again, Zaku Cannon, one of my personal favorites. I use it all the time at 300. That's fun. I just got that recently. I've been using it at 300. Lots of fun to play. The only problem is it is a little squishy. I mean, if you look at the health, you can tell there. It's got a bit less health, and defenses against ballistic anyway. At this cost, you're still probably going to be fighting things that are shooting projectiles, not beams. So definitely a lot tankier in this case. And then you get the Zaku tank at this point. It is not as good because it doesn't have as much as the gun tank mass production, but it is still kind of solid if you want to play around with it. You know, again, if you get it, have fun, try what you like, you know, try it, play around. If it's not for you, cool, move on. Yeah, luckily we've got a decent selection around this cost. And then we have 350, same thing. We have quite a decent selection. A lot of things apply. Oh, I didn't really talk about this, but they recently just buffed this long barrel, and I think the long barrel is really good. But you can also play it as a standard sniper, or even use the Magella tank top cannon. It does have a Sturmfaust, and overall it's a pretty solid suit. The gun cannon, or as the translation would always come out on from Google, would be cancer cannon. In this case, though, you got the cannons, which pretty much fire close enough, though, that you'll have the cannons hit the target wherever you're firing. So yeah, you're normally not going to hit one over the other like the mass production. Then you have the gun cannon beam rifle. In this case, the beam rifle will leg somebody pretty easily. It's got a lot of damage to legs when you fire. So you combo with the cannon, follow up with the beam to the legs. Pretty standard. Again, most of the time when you're firing as a support, you'll fire the cannon and follow up with whatever your main weapon is. Other than that, be sure to kind of look, and I've been slacking and I didn't really switch that, but you know what, I'm switching that now. You also get the elephant or the angry toddler, however you want to call that one. It's actually got quite a bit of damage. It's kind of fun to play. I play it every now and then. Other than that, most of the same. This gun tank, you're able to get this one, and it's pretty solid. It's got a bit more range and a bit more damage, and it's got more beam defense in this case. So, you actually got a decent, well-rounded set of suits here for whatever occasion you think you're going to be going up against. Oh, whoops. I don't know why I backed out, but moving to 400. 400 is where we start getting into a lot more speed. 400, you get some things like the barrage, the GM Cannon 2, the Gelgoog ground type, stuff like that. And it kind of puts something like the Zaku Cannon a bit slow. Luckily, in this case, the level 6, they do have quite a bit of stats to compensate. But I find anything that has a bit more mobility is a bit better, or has a very solid defensive kit, because you're going up against stuff like the BD2 and or the commander type, the Pixie. We got that. Be aware of those. As a support, you're really going to watch out for whatever raids are coming at you, and that's going to be one of the biggest hurdles getting into support, is learning how to deal with raids. Yeah, and then it kind of keeps going up from there. Another one that we got in this, and I'll go ahead and point that out, is the full armor. It's really solid. Definitely a suit you can rely on. I don't think we got anything in 400 costs, so good luck finding those. Again, I don't think the Zaku Cannon level 6 is in the drop, but eventually you will be able to get some stuff. Rank is a big deal on getting a lot of suits, but one day. And yeah, actually where it has the corporal, I believe you can buy this. So once you get there, you definitely have that to fall back on, or even the gun tank. So whatever playstyle you're playing. Gun Cannon 2, they recently tried to buff this. They only did a health buff, but it's a pretty solid suit. You can end up legging people with pretty much one combo. The downside is the cannon has to charge, so that's really the only downside with it. But you are full beam weaponry, meaning get the auxiliary generators to help it cool down faster. A lot of times though, you get to put as much damage as you want on the long range slots, so that's pretty cool. As far as beginning out, again, I wouldn't really recommend going into too many 450s, but if you are, really keep in mind that you don't have the parts, and if you are dying a little bit faster than the other support, they might have parts. So, I mean, I'm not saying don't play higher cost, just realize when you go in and you're getting wrecked by the same suit that you're using, it could be because of the parts. So it'll take some time, but again, have fun. You know, you always got to mix it up and play variety. I always YOLO and do something random and play some random suit. Like, I got this yesterday and I played this yesterday. So, yeah. Anyway, from there, I mean, now we're starting to get into higher cost suits. Sadly, as a support, we don't have too many options at 500 and 550 yet. We just got the MLRS. Sadly, I don't have it. We do have the Zommel. I am going to comment about the Zommel. It is fat, it is slow, and you are a huge target. and it is not the greatest thing to use, especially without parts. But even with parts, you do have one big combo where you use the straight firing one. I cannot remember which one is what. I think this is it. Yeah, precise armor piercing. You use that. Then you use the standard cannon. No, wait, this one. This is the standard cannon. And then that'll stagger them again. And then you can get an AoE fire cannon to cover a lot of ground. So, that is the Zommel. The missile launcher is pretty useless for the most part. I mean, if you need something and you can't fire one of these, use what you got. But there are some suits who, once they get too close to you, you can't hit them with this. And then you're relying on a punch or a tackle. So, yeah, that is this thing. It's really fat. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop in and talk about some basic strategy as a support. So, this is going to be on Impact site. I plan to do a full thing per map, per suit, going over what like, so in this case I would go into Impact site and say, if you're a support, it doesn't matter what suit I'm on, but I'll go over here's where supports normally go and what you do. So typically when the game starts, you want to capture the points. Now as a support though, you're slow. So by the time you get to the point, they can already have it captured, and then you're already moving on up past here, going up to a point like this. So you can fire and hit stuff pretty well. You got some good distance. If it's blue, that means you can hit it. I can hit that. I can't hit that, but I can hit that. So, a couple of different tricks. When you're coming up this in slower stuff, you won't be able to get up this. So you can boost when you're going up. So we'll go boost, and then we'll end up here. That's what a lot of raids, they're faster than you. They can do that pretty much just while walking. They don't even have to boost. Another way you can do this without boosting though is come over here to this corner and get up the hill like that. Now, there is a spot up here that people like to go to, and you can kind of perch and shoot. So again, remember, going prone and going crouched gives you more damage and ups your defense. Prone will stop you from being staggered from somebody trying to hit you if you're trying to trade shots. Another spot that people get to a lot is up around here, I think. Like I said, wait, maybe it's just that hill up there. Oops. But yeah, I believe it's just that hill right there. I always look over and I'm like, what is he doing? Again, I'm not the guy who sits on a perch in a sniper spot. Another one is you can get up on that hill and over there in that corner. If you have the range and that's your style of play, more power to you. The other standard spot to start is right here on top of this rock. So when you start the game off, you can prone up here, not too bad. Again, try to position yourself to where you're in as much cover as possible, where the cannon can kind of lean over and get the shot off. Other than that, they'll be capping C pretty quickly. A lot of times when you see people capping in the beginning of the game, in this case, hitting D is pretty hard unless they decide to just sit there in the open. But in this map, you got really good cover with the buildings and can pretty much cap either side really easily. Another sniping spot that people will do is up there. You can get up on this crashed ship, and I mean, again, if that's your playstyle, fair enough. Not my biggest deal, but yeah, you got some decent cover here though, so not too bad. Be aware though, if you do put yourself into a position like that and the raid gets to you, you're pretty much a sitting duck. And this is kind of the thing. When you're up against a raid, when they get close, you're pretty much dead. So the amount of damage you deal to a raid is pretty low because of the type advantage. So let's see if what we do when we hit the Gundam over here. 2,600. That's a pretty big difference to what we had. 1,500. So 1,600. Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, it's 1,000 damage difference. That kind of hurts. But so in this case, with the full armor Gundam, you want to shoot, switch to beam, fire twice, switch back, fire cannon, switch to beam, fire twice. That's your main combo. Now, sometimes if they're low, you can fire the cannon and then switch back, fire 3 times. The reason I was kind of pointing this combo out is we did get this suit, and this is a bit of a higher cost. So, switch 1, 2, 3, and then you're overheated, but you can get some nice damage off. If you know they haven't used a dodge roll, because general types typically have a dodge roll. So when you're firing at them, once you stagger them, they can dodge roll before you really even get your second shot off. So you might get the first, but then they dodge roll and they've got iframes. Speaking of iframes, remember you can always tackle for iframes to get that last bit of damage if you really need it. Other than that, on this thing, these missiles, they're really bad. Just to kind of point out why. Well, here we go. Yep. They do hardly no damage, and they fan out way too much. So, yeah, if I pretty much never have a use for these. I can get more damage consistently. There we go. I've dealt more damage to him with that in that short time. And it's got an ASL. That is one thing you do get to use a lot of times with any kind of firing weapon. I didn't really go over this, but if you saw it in the tutorial, yeah, I'll go over it now, I guess, and I'll try to remember to go over it when I do the other suits. It's pretty much an automatic targeting, so as long as they're in that circle, you will hit them. So it's kind of your aim assist in this game. Other than that, though, we have some... Well, let's go over a couple of tactics for when the raid is coming at you. Hopefully, you can move to your team and they'll come help, because general types will wreck a raid, which is awesome. There's a lot of general types on a team as far as the meta goes right now. So, yeah, 3 generals. If you're in a 5v5, 3 generals, 1 support, 1 raid. So you've got numbers to kind of help you out here. If you do get stuck with a raid, though, close by, you can fire for the stagger and then try to put as much distance between you as possible. Watch your boost, though. Don't overheat. Once they get too close, you have a couple of options. You can either swap to your melee, tackle, and then hopefully you get some kind of either knockdown or just a hit, and then again put distance between you. It depends on what you're going for. If you're just going for a downswing, they can counter you with that most of the time. There is lag, and like I said in my other video, I'm not sure even on a LAN connection how that combo works, if it's safe or if it's unsafe. Again, we got kind of fighting game mechanic style ideas here. So when you're really close, though, the other thing you can do is cannon, tackle, and then normally your cannon's up, ready to fire. Right? So, again, hopefully this time I won't miss and get this right. But normally you can get that cannon off, and again, if they're on you, you're probably dead. That's just something you're going to have to get used to. When a raid gets on me, I just pretty much say, okay, I'll do as much as I can, and then die. Remember, though, you can bail out and cap points and some other things. So, depending on where you're at, if you pushed a little too far forward and they get on you, remember your options. Think about it. Use strategy. Positioning is key. So, you see the raid over there, and say you're up on that perch. Come around behind and get behind your team. You put your generals between you and the raid, then he has to go through them to get to you. If a general typically sees a raid, that means they can kill it really easily. They're going to go after it. So, Positioning is huge when playing a support. Pay attention to everything around you. Pay attention to your minimap. See where the enemies are and position accordingly. So hopefully these are some basic tips that'll help. One other last thing I just thought of. Bombing the enemy base is typically easier for general or a raid because they are faster than you. But if you are in a position and can get it off and not leave your team for too long, because again, you are their radar showing the health bars of the enemies, then bomb planting is pretty solid. In an ace match, you don't have this option, and it's just going about kills and getting kills. A lot of times, as a support though, in an ace game, you will get ace. If you are getting the last hit, and you're doing a lot of damage, and you have a good score, it will pick you. In the ace video that I'll be doing later, we'll talk about all the mechanics of that, but this means you're going to have to get some kills. If you're playing a sniper type support style of play where you're perched up, try not to get the last hit, but try to support your team. And that's really what you're supposed to do as a support. When you see somebody on low health that is easily killable, but you see an enemy approaching, you have the ability to just point, shoot, and stagger. Not a lot of suits can just do that from the distance and see the battlefield in the way that you do. So make sure you're doing that. That is really the support's job. But by being a support, we do have really high amounts of damage, and we can get lots of kills, even on something that is really tanky against us, like a raid. But again, dealing with raids will take time and a lot of patience to learn how to play around with whatever suit you got. Each suit's a little bit different. Sometimes the cannon's better, sometimes you got a melee weapon, or sometimes you just got a boot. So, whatever you got, play around, try some combos to get that off. But again, when a raid gets on you, don't feel too bad. That's their job, and they will eat your health. If you're playing, say, 350 cost and a Doug Schneid gets on you, the only reason why you're probably alive after is a teammate saved you or they missed. Because if they hit their full combo, just about every support at 350 will die. But, like I said, support is my favorite playstyle. It's my main. It's what's carried me this far. And hopefully these are some basic tips and playstyles. Again, this is on this map, but giving you an idea of what you can do on other maps, you know, like getting on perches, etc. And just general tips when playing a support. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Come to my Discord. That'll be in the description below. Hit me up on Twitch. I can answer anything that you have questions about. And I'll be probably playing support. So, hope to see you there. Anyway, hope this was helpful. Thanks for watching. Have a good one. Peace.